Yeah, so Sally, we were just talking on camera about having to go to Louisiana and the damage and their recovery from the hurricanes, or hurricane. But you were able to go down there and play two competitive matches, but did not end up successful. Let's start with the Monroe contest. You were lost that 3-1, but that fourth set, 35-33, longest set you've played so far this year. But just overall impressions of that contest and just what you took away from it.
So I was really proud of our team. We made some unforced errors that cost us in times, especially against Monroe, and we definitely did not take care of containing their personnel, especially their outsides. But in that fourth set, we running a 6-2, we ran out of our subs. We had Peyton Stoner in the front row, and I was really impressed with how well our team responded in kind of that emergency situation and took ownership and played great volleyball at the end. And they were swinging for kills. They were aggressive in everything they did. So I thought that was a really good step for us in handling that adversity. And again, we had a new right side that weekend, and we struggled to stop their outside attack. So a little disappointed in the Monroe match with our backcourt defense and our blocking in that match, but I felt like we served well. We had a good middle presence there. And so we did some nice things building our offense there, but it's taking care of those small points that we've talked about in the past.
Yeah, Ava had 22 digs for you defensively. She's also top 10 in the conference in aces. How big is that for you, just getting your serves? And looking at your serving statistics, you do rank pretty well in the conference overall. But what about that part of the game and how it contributes to your efforts?
That's one part of our identity is serving aggressive. We always talk about the concept or principle of middle out. And so if we can serve the ball aggressive enough where their pass is off the net and their middle can't run an offensive route, then we're doing a good job from the service line. And there's always a balance with serving aggressive enough so they're not in rhythm, to serving 100% of balls inbounds, but having an easy serve where they can really run their offense and build momentum. So that's always a fine line of aggressive serving and also keeping the ball in at certain parts of the game that are crucial crunch time parts.
Yeah, Meisheia Griffin, she had 11 kills, hit for 346 in that contest. She's fourth in conference in hitting percentage, second in blocks. She's giving some solid production from that front line position.
She has been kind of our rock through this whole thing, and her blocking just continues to get better and better. She's really seeing the game from an offensive standpoint. We've worked, it was nice. We got 4 practices this week, or we'll have 4 practices. So, just kind of growing our skills from an offensive standpoint, but Mish has definitely been the foundation of our team.
And then you travel to Lafayette to face Louisiana, and you drop that match also 3-1. But all 4 of the sets were within six points. Just very competitive contest. Even that fourth set, you dropped 29-27. Is it a similar deal, just being in these tough matches and just a few points here and there being the difference?
Yes. And, the Louisiana match was a little bit different because they would go on point runs and then we would go on point runs. And so we need to go on the point run and then sustain that point run. And I think that that's been kind of a theme of this kind of first section of the season, is that we'll get ahead or make a nice run, and then to be able to side out consistently to maintain that. And Louisiana is a very streaky team. They're very fast. It's a little bit different than we normally see. So for us, I was really happy on how we contained most of their hitters, but we needed our pins to be a little bit stronger in that. So our outsides and our right sides. And where they had found kills against Monroe, it was a little more difficult versus Lafayette. And so that's something we've been working on this week. But I thought from a passing and serving perspective, we did a really nice job against Lafayette and handled their offense pretty well.
Yeah, you're in conference season right now. You just played your first matches in that, as far as the road goes. Where's the team right now, you think, now that you're in the heart of Sun Belt competition?
Well, we're excited. We have the next 3 matches at home. So we'll play App State Coastal, and then on Thursday we'll play Georgia Southern at home. So that allows us to really have good practice time. Last week we had a football conflict, so we played Thursday, Friday, and that made for a very short week of practice and early competition. So I think that just the additional, and we do have a young team, so those additional days of practice really help prepare us for the competition. And we still have a lot of the system stuff that we're putting in from an offensive and defensive standpoint. So we are really excited about the stretch of home matches. And, we're getting some players off of injury returning. So that's very exciting. So a lot of good stuff is happening in our gym.
Yeah, how do you incorporate those? You've mentioned players that have been out. You can see the listings of players who are in and out of rotation. But how is the team health wise? And you mentioned you're trying to work a new right side or some players in some different spots. How do you do that in the middle of conference season?
So that's where those extra days of practice really come in handy. And last week that handcuffed us in a lot of ways. But as people continue to heal and get better, this is where that competition and positions and lineups and all those things, practice becomes extremely competitive. And, it's an exciting time right now in our gym.
Yeah, and then App State and Coastal. We'll stick with App State. I'm sure you've been able to review their stuff a little bit further. What about them so far this year? What is their system looking like, and what will you have to do well to execute and get a victory?
So for them, they're very similar to us. They've had a lot of lineup changes, I'm assuming due to injury. So over the past 2 weekends, we've seen a lot of different roster assignments and position switches. So I think they're trying to find a lineup that works where, they have their healthy players. And this is all part of season. We're in COVID, but, just injuries, all of that, because last year we played an adjusted season or it was just conference schedule. This year's their bodies have to be ready for all the matches we're going through. So App is a very pin dominant team. They have some nice middles. They come at you from the front row and back row. So I think that'll be a very offensive game from both sides of the net.
You brought up an interesting point there as far as the schedule. Last year was a different schedule, condensed and everything with the pandemic. This is more of a traditional conference schedule. You do have some back-to-backs, but still 2 matches a weekend, things like that. Have you had to change the body maintenance of your team as far as conditioning and rehab as opposed to last year? Because some are saying that it's just the schedule's different. I mean, you're right in the middle of it. And you're mentioning injuries, and a lot of teams are dealing with that as well. Do you think this year, with the way the schedule is set up, it's required an adjustment from 2020?
Absolutely. And probably the biggest thing that we faced in 2020 is not having anyone on campus during the summer. So the preparation of the bodies to make it through the season was the biggest concern, and really allowing us, we had small pods before we could go into team practice and all the protocol and progression there, where this year, it was just full go. And with that comes, as bodies get older, because you have some 5th-year seniors, you have players that are taking that extra COVID year, you just really have to manage and maintain force loads and all of the areas that go into keeping your body healthy, strong, all of that.
You mentioned, of course, is it just do you finding in talking to your fellow coaches and colleagues, you're noticing more injuries, less injuries? What's been kind of the difference just physically, kind of with these players with this type of schedule?
Well, I think this taking out 2020, this hovers along the same lines as every year.
Okay.
And that's probably what I would say about, most programs are covering a bigger roster right now. And that is a good thing in so many ways. It's hard to get everyone playing time, but the ability to go hard in practice and have those extra players training and working to get better and competing for a starting lineup is a really good practice environment.
Well, Sally, thank you for your time. We greatly appreciate it, and good luck this weekend.
All right. Thank you so much.